Hey everybody, Nick here, and today I'm gonna fantasize a little bit. I very often get asked by viewers, hey Nick, what would be your high-end dreams for knives, for watches, pens, lights, whatever? What are your grails? What are your loves? What would you love to see someday in life? And it's always a little bit tough, because the really high-end stuff I would love to be able to pick up, but I just would probably never carry it because I could never replace it. That's that cost carry comfort curve. I'll link to that below. But so we're going to engage in a little bit of a thought experiment here today. And I'm going to imagine that I came home one day and found in the middle of my living room this, a huge, huge pile of cash. And after bringing it down to the bank and depositing it and explaining to them very nicely that I am not in fact a drug dealer, and in fact I just found it on my living room floor, and probably being questioned by several FBI people, whatever, after that point I would have all the money I could possibly want to spend on EDC gear, as well as other fun things. But nonetheless, what would I buy if I could buy anything in terms of EDC gear? So we'll start off small. I'd like to get a little more into the traditional market, and particularly the modern traditionals. This is by Jared Oser. I don't know how he pronounces it, but that's how I'm going to pronounce it. And he makes incredible work. They're traditionals, but they're made using modern materials like carbon fiber, G10, those kinds of things. And the steels are really, better steels. And every time I see his work, I'm just blown away by it. I just want some. But the prices are they're custom. And I just can't afford to go there. They're way above my cost carry comfort curve, but I'd love to check it out. Compelling stuff. So I'd love to go there. I'd also like to do some upgrades. I love my Norseman a lot. And, it's my favorite knife, but at the same time, I would absolutely love even more. Well, maybe not even more, but I would love to own one of these guys in Damascus, in the Damasteel, and with a little bit more patterning, kind of a full dress Norseman. And, if I feel irresponsible someday, I may end up doing just that if I could ever get my hands on one. But that would bring me joy, and that's probably something I'd try and spend some money on very early in that whole process. So another thing I love is the Rask. The Grimsmo Rask is their new knife that's coming out. I haven't gotten mine, and mine is, a little bit more plain than this. It should have very similar color to my Norseman, and it should just have the sideways lines there, but it's not Damasteel, and honestly, I couldn't afford to make it Damasteel, and I still can't. But I'd love to someday, maybe if I like it, and I kind of suspect I am gonna, upgrade it to Damasteel as well, have a matched pair in Damasteel. Oh, that'd be nice. Speaking of upgrades, the Shibogorov Neon is an incredible knife. This is the Neon Light, though, Neon Latte, if you will. And it's got slab titanium scales, and they're milled nicely, but there is a custom version of the Neon, just called the Neon Custom. And they're incredible. Got nice satin finishes on the blades. They've got really nice contouring. The action is somehow even better, I am told. And that takes something, because holy crap, this action. But I'd love to check one of those out. The problem is they tend to go in the $1 to $2,000 range, and I can't do that with being who I am and what means I got these days. So, that's something that brings me joy. Speaking of things that would bring me joy in the upgrade department, this is a John Graham Razel Midtech, and I like this knife a lot. But John Graham makes some incredible custom knives. This is just one of them, but he does these compound grinds that are just stellar. He uses Damascus, and, they're great, but every time I see them come up, they're they're, 1,800, 1,900 bucks. They're really up there in terms of price, and I'd love, love, love to pick up a Graham Custom someday. But that day is not the day, sadly. Other joy, the John Graham GT, Gentleman's Tactical, is another of his custom models. These are really hard to find. He keeps talking about doing maybe a mid-tech of these one of these days, and I'll be all on that. But nonetheless, I love the idea and would love to pick one up if I had the funding. But anytime these come up, they're in the 15, 16 range, and I just can't go there. Moving along, this is a Peter Recenti Druid flipper. And I got to handle this exact knife at the Blade HQ recently. And I'll be posting some video from there, and there's a video of some of my impressions of some knives from there coming up here soon. But this blew me away. The action was great, and the construction was great. It was just a really great little knife. but it was also $2,000. So if I had all the money in the world, so to speak, I would definitely look into some of Resente's customs. That one blew me away with the build quality and everything, and I'd love to check out more. This is his snafu flipper. And I've had enough snafus in my life that I think this would be completely, I'd be used to this. So, sounds good, right? This is a Brad Southard custom. And, I've talked about Brad Southard's work before. And he posted this guy on Instagram recently, and I love the carbon fiber. I love the copper. I love the overall design of it. But what I really love is right in the back here. That's right. That, my friends, is a compression lock. Just like on the Spyderco PM2. One of the conditions that he put into place with Spyderco is that in his customs, he would be able to use the compression lock. And the compression lock is an incredible locking mechanism because you can open and close the knife just by flicking it open and closed, and because you can close the knife without your fingers, sorry, this one's a little sticky, being in the blade path whatsoever. And that's beautiful. And so a compression lock flipper, oh my God, I would pay silly amounts of money for this if I had silly amounts of money. And, I bid in the auction, but it just shot way past me very, very quickly. So I just had a sad little bid at the bottom there. But, oh man, I love this knife, and I would love to give him money for it. This is a Stan Wilson non-flipper flipper. It is a flipper knife, except that instead of having a flipper tab, you just rotate one of the bolsters here, and that flips the knife out. And the other one is the backlock. There are great videos on YouTube. I would pay good money to handle one of these for 2 hours, let alone to actually buy one of these. But they're like $3 or $4,000, and his books are a few years deep. So someday I'd love to maybe try and do this, but, I may never. I'd still love to try. So there you go. This is a full custom knife by Marcin Slish. Same guy who did the Spyderco Slish Bowie, which, as you guys know, is probably my favorite production knife. It's an absolute gem. But he does custom work, and he is also an engraver. So he did this engraving on this knife, and it's a Slish custom. I mean, you can see right there, Maker's Mark, Maker's Mark. Very, very nice knife. I would love to pick up some of his custom work, but again, anytime they're out there and available, they are gone in a heartbeat, and, $2 or $3,000. So, I guess someday. This guy may actually be my grail. Grail is kind of a controversial term in the knife and watch world, because some people just mean, it's the next big knife I'd like to buy, or something like that, or it's a knife that is slightly more expensive than I want to spend right now. For me, a grail means just that. It is something that I will, probably not be able to obtain in my lifetime. This is by Tim Zawada. This is his Maker's Mark right there. And it's a custom integral dagger. So the entire body is, one chunk of metal with some wood around it and little copper accents. But this is probably the most beautiful knife I have ever seen, period. I saw this many years ago on Tim Zawada's website, this very picture. This is the only picture I've ever seen of this knife. And this is one of few things that just kind of takes my breath away. I don't want to buy this to carry it. I don't want to buy, although I try and find an excuse. I don't want to buy it for, I just want to buy this as art. I want to put this on my desk and stare at it all day to remind me of everything that is good in the world. If by good you mean Damascus and beautiful craftsmanship. So if I had that big pile of money, I would put this photo up on Instagram, and I would say, hey, if any of you know the person who has this knife, you give them my information, and I will pay them a silly amount of money for it. And frankly, look, if any of you guys know who's got this knife, give them my information, and I may yet pay them a somewhat silly amount of money for it. But it's gorgeous, and so this particular knife is probably my grail, so far as grails go. So that's the knife world. What about other gear? So, in terms of flashlights, I'm not quite deep enough into the world to have the full-on grails that some people do, and I know I've already been reviewing some things that are grails for others. I just finished reviewing some HDS executives and whatnot. Those are going to be coming up before too long here on the channel. But this is a Prometheus Lights flashlight in titanium. And I owned one of their alphas way back when. I got it in a trade. And it's a very, very nice light, but it was way above my cost carry comfort curve. in titanium. These are just beautifully made, and they're beautiful lights with beautiful, they output beautiful light as well. So I'd love to pick one of these guys up if I had all the money in the world. Beyond that, I'm still learning, so I don't know quite yet what I want to try on the high end, but I'm sure it's out there someplace. In terms of pens, I don't have that much of a high-end desire in life. I went through a fountain pen phase. Well, phase, like 10 years, 15 years. Well, I use them regularly, but the thing is, I don't write quite often enough to actually want to carry a fountain pen, because they do have a tendency to go dry and things like that, particularly the extending point ones. But I do love me a rollerball, and this is a Mont Blanc rollerball, and it's just a beautiful object. And so, for an EDC in a really formal situation, I would love to be carrying this. It's also $800, and I'm not going to spend $800 on a pen, but if I have a huge pile of cash in my living room, okay, maybe I am. What else? On the watch front, I got some desires, certainly. So, Zen is a company I've talked a little bit about before, and in fact, I own this little guy, which is a mechanical watch. And, I like it a lot. It's a very good mechanical watch, although mechanicals have some disadvantages. This is a Sin quartz watch, but more specifically, it's a high-accuracy quartz watch. It's called the UX, and it's got a couple of special things to it. First off, like I said, it's high-accuracy quartz, so it's really, 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 really accurate. Like 5 or 10 seconds a year, sort of accurate. It also has, date in there, but one other interesting thing about it is that the steel itself is very well hardened, and the inside of the watch is filled with a fluid, which means that this is incompressible. You can see the viewing angles are just astounding because it has the same refraction index as the glass, and you can look at it underwater, and it's always, and you can drop this apparently down to 10,000 feet, and it's going to be fine, waterproof-wise. So, I probably safely wear it in the shower. About as far as I'm going to take it, but still, I would love to pick one of these up because it's a high-end quartz. It's durable. It'd be a good beating kind of watch, and it's just really cool. It's also $2,000, so not going to happen anytime soon. Still, nice watch. In terms of my practical high-end watch aspiration, this is towards the top of it. This is a Grand Seiko Spring Drive GMT. I actually recommended this to a buddy of mine who is of greater means than I, and he is just in love with it. And I am super, super jealous. The spring drive setup actually is a hybrid of mechanical and quartz in that it has the mechanical innards to it. It's charged by your body and the motion of your arm, but it uses a quartz watch to regulate that. So there's no escapement. And so the second hand spins completely smoothly, and it's very, very accurate, less than a second a day. And that, to me, feels like the best of both worlds. And this is a really interesting watch, horologically speaking, as well as it's kind of cool looking. And these go for like $4,500, which is way more than I can spend on a watch. But maybe at some point in my life, I will spend some money like that on a spring drive watch. I would love, love, love to pick one of these up someday. Who knows? Now let's imagine that I am just filthy, I don't give a crap rich. It's not even just that I found a pile of money. It's that somebody's dropping off a new pile of money every damn day. I am Scrooge McDuck, skiing down the freaking pile of cash rich. So what would I do then? Well, I recently had a chance to go to a store that sells Patek Philippe watches, and they are really incredible. This is a Nautilus by Patek Philippe, and this is a yearly calendar, and what blew me away about this little guy, in addition to being a very attractive watch, is the details were all done perfectly. I mean, to the extent where the edges of the bracelet here were chamfered, and the chamfers were mirror polished. Holy crap. That's really impressive to me. And so it's a mechanical watch. It's not going to be any more accurate than, for instance, this $5 watch from Amazon, but at the same time, it's really cool, and I'd love to check one of these guys out, and to own it, for that matter. I'd probably pick the darker face, but, I could pick one of these up for the bargain price of, let's see here, about $40,000. So, like I said, I'd need to be stinking rich in order to be able to justify wearing $40,000 on my wrist. Not a possibility for me. Here's another one. This is my wrist again. I had myself some fun. There's another Patek Philippe, and it's a high complication perpetual calendar, Beautiful, sun, really, really nice watch. The details were perfect. The inside was perfect. The winding work was incredible. Just very, very impressive watch. But the thing is, even if I'm filthy rich, I'm probably not going to need that many complications because I'm not going to wear a dress watch that often. So I'd probably go with something like this guy here, and that's a $30,000 watch. Again, I'm filthy rich, so why not spend that money? Beautiful, beautiful watch. The details are all there. All of the little dots are actually dots that are hand applied to the thing. Just nice. And then, if I'm stupid wealthy, I'm going to get one of these guys. This is a Lange & Söhne Zeitwerk, which is actually a digital mechanical watch. So what I mean by that is that the inside of it is mechanical. Everything in there is spinny gears, but it does that. It displays the time by every minute having these numbers jump. And so you look down and it says 7:52, and then it gives you the seconds there in the middle. So cool. Like, as a piece of mechanism, it's incredible. Would I, need that? No, not remotely. Is it huge? Yes, absolutely. Is it practical? No, not at all. But my God, is it awesome. So I would totally do that in a freaking heartbeat. So that's kind of my list of grails. What I would do if I were a really, really rich person. What would you be picking up for your EDC if you were just filthy stinking rich and money was not an object? Let me know in the comments. I hope this was at least slightly interesting to you. And hey, viewers, if you want to buy me a spring drive Seiko there, you just let me know. I'll give you an address any day of the week or any of the... And seriously, about this Zawada, if you know that person, put them in touch with me. But all right, have yourselves a wonderful rest of your day. Bye now.